evening, everybody. This is the Sherborn Zoning Board of Appeals on Monday, September 9th. We are here tonight to open the hearing, an order of remand from the Housing Appeals Court on the Pine residences, which were originally 60 units of rental housing on 3.8 acres at 41 North Main Street. The ZBA denied the request for a comprehensive permit by an order dated June 28, 2021. And now the applicant has come back for a consideration of a significantly different proposal for those premises. And I'm going to let Paul Haverty, Town Council, introduce the situation to those present.
Sure. Mike Terry from Petrini and Associates. We act as Town Council. And just to, and what you said is correct. Since 2021, this matter has been on appeal with the Housing Appeals Committee. The applicant has filed modified plans on the same property. Those were reviewed by the Housing Appeals Committee, and the matter has been remanded back pursuant to the regulations that apply for your consideration. So what you are doing is considering this new proposal. You're not determining whether it's better than the last proposal, but you're considering this one as it is presented. The scope of your hearing is to be limited to the differences between the projects. If there are matters that were precisely the same for both projects, you don't need to go over them again, but you need to highlight the differences and take those into consideration. Per the remand order, the scope of the hearing is limited to substantial changes in the proposal and aspects of the proposal, including wastewater treatment, water supply, traffic access and egress to and from the site, and the change in structures from garden-style apartment buildings, which were first proposed to the duplex and triplex units that are now proposed. So essentially, that's it. We'll turn it over to Paul. I'll be here listening if anybody, Mr. Chair, if you have any questions, I'll be happy to try to address them. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, Paul, do you have anything to add to Mike's very elegant introduction?
I think good job.
Can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
Your mic's not great.
Hear me now.
Well, that's better.
Okay, well, I guess we'll have to take better because I don't really know what else to do.
Okay, well, that's good now.
Okay, that's very
Went
strange.
from bad to better to best.
Excellent. All right, so the remand order that was issued by the Housing Appeals Committee does set a time frame on your hearing process. It limits it to 90 days rather than the standard 180 days, which would be applicable on a newly filed comprehensive permit application. Because this is a modification, and modifications by regulation are limited only to the changes in the project, it shouldn't take, as long as a newly submitted application should take throughout the hearing process. Again, this is a modification, one that we believe is substantially less impactful than the one that was originally submitted. We chose not to argue at the Housing Appeals Committee that the change is an insubstantial change because we did trigger one of the standards in 760 CMR 56.07 subsection 4, which is a change of housing type, because we went from larger garden style buildings to triplexes and duplex buildings. Again, we believe that although that's a positive change, it is something that would trigger one of the thresholds under the HAC regulations. The board, in reviewing this proposed modification can either, if they want to, approve it as it was submitted, which would ultimately change the board's decision from its original denial to an approval. Or it can also reject the submission, which would then send this matter back to the Housing Appeals Committee. And the Housing Appeals Committee would review this matter based upon the modification. But it would still be based upon the same standard, which is a denial of the original application. I know that Lynn had prepared to discuss the changes that we have proposed, so I don't want to step on her toes, so I will just turn it over to her and she can make her presentation.
Thanks,
Okay,
Kyle.
would you please?
Good evening, Lynn Sweet. For the record, LDS Consulting Group out of Wellesley. I'm also joined by our architect, Erin Fulham, and the applicant, Gary Labarsky, is here as well. So I'm going to just quickly go over the new program, the plan, briefly. We don't have our engineer with us tonight, but Erin, I'll show you the new buildings as well. This is just simply a summary of what we started with and where we are. The lot itself has not changed in size. It's still a 7.1 acre lot. Under the original application, we applied for 60 units. There's been now currently 28 units. As Paul mentioned, we've gone from 2 multifamily, multi-level buildings to duplexes and triplexes. So we reduced the number of units by 53%. We have also reduced the number of bedrooms by 50%, and therefore our need for water is cut in half, as well as our need for septic. We are still planning to use the existing water supply that is off-site, but are currently proposing to do septic on-site that will share a system with the remaining 1 acre parcel that has what's known as the pub, or the existing historic rental building on it. There has been also a reduction in pervious area, meaning that not as much of the site is covered by either building or roadways. Then I'm going to quickly go through the plan. I think one thing, we did submit to you a new letter from our traffic engineer from Jeffrey Dirk that talked about the changes in the impact to traffic. We know when we were in front of you last time, you very much had wanted an entrance out onto North Main Street. We have that. We have emergency access out to Hunting Lane, and then the original access out to Powder House Lane. Obviously, with half the number of units and half the number of bedrooms, the traffic is going to be split in half and has more directions to go. So we think that that's all really positive. We have a mixture, as we noted, of triplexes and duplexes. We tried to work with the grades of the land and sort of build the buildings into the natural contours of the site, not as, and we do have the new septic system over here and some stormwater management. There'd be a reserve in here as well. There are, I believe we also have somewhere, I'm doing a very bad impression of being a civil engineer. I think we still have the cisterns, I think that were asked for by the fire department. As well, we've got, snow storage in here, vehicle turning. And so overall, it's a low, kind of a low-rise plan, and I'm going to have Erin walk through what the actual buildings will look like.
Great, thanks. Hi, I'm Erin Fulham. Good evening. I'm from CME Architects in Plainville. I'm going to share my screen with you real quick so that you can see what we have here for plans. 1 second, sorry. Okay. So we are proposing three different building types. A duplex with 2 bedrooms. This first floor unit has open floor plans. We have 1-car garages, entry and mud space available, and space out to the exterior living, which is a benefit, moving to single family homes. We have more outdoor living space. We have front porches. The second floor layout has large bedrooms. We share a bathroom with large walk-in closets. And we have a laundry space. There's also a loft available if that needed to be used as, like say study space or a playroom area. The second building type is a triplex unit. Oh, sorry, I didn't show you the front. And then we have front elevations proposed using a different mix of materials to kind of add some character and features to the fronts. The second building type is a triplex with all the 2-bedroom units. So it's the same unit I was just walking you through, except this one's replicated out to 3 times for this triplex building. And then this is the front elevation proposed for that option. And then the third option is our mixed building that has units with the 2-bed. We also have a first floor unit that's a little bit condensed down in size to kind of scale down with only being the 1 bedroom. This unit has the bedroom upstairs, again, offers the loft space to be used as that secondary study area, another laundry room, and this has private bathroom and walk-in closet. The 3-bedroom unit is at the end, which also has the same first floor open layout. And then on the second floor, we have the 3 large bedrooms, the open loft space again. Each bedroom has plenty of closet space. We also are offering laundry room. And this unit has a Jack and Jill style bath, so we have that little bit of flexibility to have maybe 2 people in there at the same time. And then the front elevation for this one is also included. And then we also put together a rendering of one of the buildings, trying to use a mix of materials and kind of stay with natural finishes that sort of tie in with the with the existing area. Notice how there's a lot of forest around, so we want to try to complement the existing natural elements in the area.
Thanks. I'm gonna just quickly jump back to the tabular zoning analysis. Just see if I can pull that up real quick. So basically, you may recall that the existing lot is going to be divided into Lot A and Lot B. Lot A is the 1 acre home site that's sort of on the bottom left. And so basically, here we are giving you whether or not we're in compliance or not, because Lot A is pre-existing non-conforming. The front setback doesn't comply, but in all other ways it does comply. And for Lot B, the new construction lot, we are in compliance other than a little bit on the front in the side yards. And as far as building height, we're actually in compliance. We're 2.5 stories, less than 35 feet. I don't know, Aaron, if you know the exact square footage. So
the place, what they're planning for.
I'm sorry, who's speaking? So anyway, we wanted you to show you that, the tabular zoning, as far as that for the most part, the new site is in probably more in compliance than the old building because it is more of a residential scale. The units are going to continue to be rental, and therefore 25% of them would be counted on the SHI and affordable to households earning at or below 80% of AMI. So at that point, that was all we were planning on sharing tonight. We're happy to answer questions or talk about next steps, whatever is the pleasure of the board.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Lynn. I'd like to ask my fellow board members, Todd and Zach, if you have any questions for the applicant at this point.
Just two questions. Based on the review of the plans, it doesn't appear that there's going to be any basement space, if you could confirm that, and it also does not appear to be any walk-up unfinished attic space either. Could you please confirm those two things?
Right, we do not have walk-up attic space, but they do have the potential to have unfinished basements, and as Lynn had mentioned, using the topography, some of the lots might have a potential for walkout.
Okay. Do we know how many units are going to have those rooms?
Lynn, if you can pull up the plan, I believe it was kind of the middle section that was the proposed walkout areas. But they would all have full basements. It would just be those few in that middle section that have the ability to have the walkouts. Right. Yeah, we had the line of D1s kind of going across the middle right here.
Yep,
Those
I
are
see
the
the
units
WL.
that kind of goes downhill.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know that for a rental project, we're gonna be, we're not planning on building out basements. I think if it was a
Right.
homeownership project, we would probably take a different approach, but we really can't get any, that's not really gonna
Right.
necessarily generate, a lot of income.
We're about 2,200 square feet for the larger units. I think you had mentioned the square footage earlier, Lynn, and
Mhm.
about 1,100 for the smaller unit. And then any basement space would be proposed as unfinished.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
No problem.
This is Zach. I apologize if there's background noise. Is the entrance off of North Main Street bi-directional, or is it only an entrance?
The question is the entrance off of, right here off of North Main Street two ways?
Yes.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
correct.
yeah, they're contemplating, turning in over here and coming out, over here.
I'm
And
sharing your
that's in
screen,
line
Lynn.
with your existing intersection, which was something that was asked for, at the first go around.
Lynn, I think you need to share your screen.
Just out of practice here. So yeah, so it would be, right in from North Main Street and then, left, right out over here. And I believe this is an existing intersection. I don't remember whether it was signalized or not. I believe that there were some planned improvements along this area of North Main Street. Don't know whether those happened or not.
Okay, so just to clarify, so the entrance we're talking about off of North Main has no restrictions on travel, both ingressing or egressing that property. There's no turn only or left turn only or entrance only. It's an entrance and exit. Is that how the design is?
At the
With no
moment, there's
restrictions?
they're certainly open for for conversation. We had been, at the last hearing, there was a lot of concern about the cars backing up on Powder House Lane. So that is why we added this entrance, and it's certainly open for discussion as the best way to handle traffic going in and out. Nothing is off the table. I guess that's what I want to say.
And the hunting lane route was that emergency access only? Is that what you had said in your presentation, Lynn?
Yeah, that has always been looked at as, emergency access, whether it would be, it would probably be gated. But it's just another way for the fire department to come in and out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Zach, or Todd, do you have any other questions before I ask the public?
No further questions from me at this time. Thank you.
Okay,
John, thank you.
now, do any members of the public have a question for the applicant? I see a hand up from Mr. Garino, Jim Garino.
Yes, hi, Jim Guarino, 60 North Main Street. I was wondering if you have a current grading plan with this iteration and or site sections that we could look at? And more specifically, how you intend to resolve the 20-foot grade difference at the northeast corner of the site, and particularly at the traffic circle that's furthest east along, and really along northeast along Hunting Lane.
So Lynn, I think that's a question for you.
Well, I am not either the traffic engineer or the civil engineer. Is your question about grading up here? Is that what you're talking about, northeast traffic circle?
Well, along Hunting,
Are you talking about this?
I don't see any plan
Yeah,
on.
you gotta share first, Lynn.
Oh, boy.
Well,
Are you talking about the Hunting Lane, or are you talking about
right there, yeah.
right here?
That 18 feet between Hunting Lane and that turnaround, there's significant contours there, existing contours. So if you had a grading plan, which would explain how you intend to resolve that as well.
I'm sure that we have it, that there is a grading plan, so I will make sure that we get that over to you.
And or a site section, particularly through there, would be helpful just to see visually and graphically how that would look.
Okay, yeah, I think that's probably going to be that'll be a joint effort of Aaron and Danelle. Yeah,
Thank you.
I'm going to leave it up there.
Okay. Are there any other members of the public who would like to ask a question of the applicant? I don't see any hands. So I think our next step is to schedule the future hearing. As council mentioned, we are directed by the Housing Appeals Court to focus on wastewater treatment, water supply, traffic access and egress to and from the site, and the changes in the structures from garden-style apartment buildings to duplex, triplex units. So, Lynn, let me ask you, which of those issues do you want to take a stab at first?
I certainly think traffic would be pretty easy to to take a first stab at. So it's traffic, septic, water,
Change in
Yeah.
structures, which we covered tonight.
and structures. So I think traffic and structures is probably very straightforward. I don't know whether you're you're going to be hiring a peer reviewer to look at this, but those matters are very straightforward. And the same thing as to we've got 90 days. Certainly we can get some site section and grading plans over to you that would help that the discussion about the structure and the traffic. As far as water and sewer, again, I don't know how you're we will be happy to talk about what the information, what we have and what we know, and follow whatever timeline works for you. It's just whether you're going to be reviewing it with just the ZBA and with staff, or whether you're going to bring someone else in that wants to take a look at things.
Well, I'm going to ask our chair, Zach.
Yep.
I would suggest that we will want our own reviewer brought in.
Yeah, I think that's right, Jonathan. And I think, and also sort of before we start getting to the next meeting, I'd like to also talk about sort of the water supply tonight, just in terms of what that situation is being proposed. But I do think we will be getting a peer reviewer on the water supply and the septic and the traffic. Those are the three main issues.
So the water supply hasn't changed from what you previously reviewed, and you had
Except for the reduction in the impact.
except for the reduction in use of the water supply.
Right.
So I'm not, so if you want to get an update from your expert, on the reduction in the use, that's fine, but there's nothing that we can produce. We've given you the number of, the number of bedrooms on that.
So I apologize for my ignorance because this is the first remanded project that I have had the privilege of participating and reviewing. And so I'm not quite sure where you are and what the process is for the Board of Health involvement in your revised plans. I understand there's a reduction in the need for the water. I assume the septic, the wastewater treatment plant or whatever it is has reduced in size. I apologize, I haven't looked at the previous plans, but I assume there's some changes there as well, right?
Well, the septic treatment plant has been eliminated.
Yeah.
So this property is now going to be subject to Board of Health Title V. So if we get through this part of the process, it would then go in front of the Board of Health. It's not, although it's regulated on this under the state Title V, the jurisdiction is the municipality. So again, from the water supply standpoint, we have reduced the dependency, and cut that in half. And septic has been located on the plan, but detailed analysis of the septic would happen if and when it goes in front of the Board of Health.
Well, excuse me, you finish. I interrupted you.
No, I think that there is another jurisdiction that would be looking at, so presumably if and when a permit issues, which would be so amazing, it would be subject to the Board of Health reviewing it under Title V.
Okay,
seems like the process seems backwards to me. So maybe our town council or Paul can weigh in on why we don't get to see a Title V assessment prior to our decision.
As we do with all other decisions.
It's absolutely not a requirement to get other permitting, other required permits prior to going forward on a 40B application. In fact, as it relates to order of conditions from the Conservation Commission, there is some case law that suggests we're not even allowed to go and get that permit prior to getting a complete comprehensive permit process with the Board of Appeals. I know that a lot of developers, are willing to move forward and do the extensive work necessary to file with the Board of Health for their Title V permit prior to getting a decision from the Board of Appeals. I think this is a somewhat unique circumstance in that this is a project that has already been rejected once by the board. I don't think financially it makes a lot of sense for my client to move forward and go through the expense of the Title V process until it determines whether or not it's going to have an approval of a comprehensive permit, either from this board or through the subsequent appeal to the Housing Appeals Committee.
This is again me speaking at an airport, and I've been focused on other things today, but it just seems contradictory that we should be issuing a permit to approve without knowing whether it meets Title V. I mean, it seems elementary to me, unless I'm missing something.
Any permit that you issue can absolutely contain a condition that the applicant seek and obtain a Title V disposal works permit from the Board of Health. And that is not at all an unusual way to go through the process. If we wind up having to appeal whatever decision you make to the Housing Appeals Committee, and we haven't gone through the Board of Health at that point, they will absolutely include a condition that requires obtaining a disposal works permit from the Board of Health. So it's a fairly typical process.
Okay. Yes, Mike, you've got your hand up.
Yeah. I was just going to suggest to Zach and you, Jonathan, given that you're a little uncertain on the proper process of what's in and out of the review, that I think a logical first step would be getting a consultant on board who could help you navigate the process and the questions and what information you may need going forward. But I would point out also the remand order does not limit you to the things that are included in a list of what you're to inquire into, those are not a limitation. They're just areas that should be inquired into. But overall, you should be looking at anything that's substantially different between the prior plans and the current plans. And I think having a consultant who can understand the engineered site plans would be very helpful.
Yeah, I mean, it just from my perspective, it's presenting itself as concerning to me that we would be making a decision without the full complete picture, because obviously a lot of these topics interrelate to each other, at least water and sewer, so to speak.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I was going to ask about water. I want to anticipate that water is going to be a very important issue to us. It was the last time around. The availability of water was very important to the ZBA. And I don't understand from what Lynn has said that there's going to be new information on the availability of water.
So
And let me take that. So the availability of water, was discussed at length in the original hearing process.
Right.
This project cuts the amount of water usage from the original project in half. There's no additional information for us to present as it relates to the water usage. We're proposing wells in the same location. The only difference is this project will use half of as much water as the other project. Certainly, you're within your rights to review that. Again, it's just that we don't have any additional information to present because there really isn't a change as it relates to the water supply other than reducing the impact.
Thanks, Paul. And John, I apologize. I'm breaking my own rules of etiquette in the meeting tonight. So I just two quick questions. I would say one is, was the original information regarding the water suggestive that the current need as proposed is going to be easily satisfied?
Well, I mean, I think ultimately that was an issue of dispute and part of the reason why there was an appeal to the Housing Appeals Committee.
But I guess in your opinion, Paul, which is not a non-scientific opinion, do you believe
very non-scientific?
Right? The lawyer opinion means you hire someone else to give it to you. So in your hired opinion, do you believe that your experts in the past have said that? I saw 7,000 gallons a day flashed on screen. Maybe I don't know if that's right, but is that what your expert in the past has said is what can be produced by the proposed wells? And then also, just another corollary to that is, in fact, just clarify my understanding that the wells will be located on the Powder House Lane parcel that stores landscaper equipment, or that which parcel locates the wells? Can you just clarify that for me?
Let me just see. So yes, the water requirement is down from 14,000 gallons to 7,000 gallons. The wells are located off-site.
Why don't you put the plan back up?
I know. I don't have a full plan that shows where they are. But basically here's Hunting Lane, and the wells are located one lot down on Hunting Lane on another parcel of land owned by Mr. Libarski. The wells have already been drilled. They were heavily peer reviewed, and our experts from what was then called on-site engineering, they're now called Fuss and O'Neill, did opine to the fact that there was enough water available. They did do some testing on the wells, ran some tests, and felt satisfied that there would be more than enough water available. And as Paul mentioned, there was a dispute over, what we were saying and what the town was saying. So the only thing we can say right now is that our use is going to be half of what had originally been predicted.
Okay, so no new analysis from your water engineer?
No.
Correct. The original analysis was that there was sufficient capacity for the larger project.
I remember.
So there's obviously.
I also remember what our reaction to that was.
Understood. Like I said, there wasn't a meeting of the minds on that. However, our expert has provided his opinion that there is sufficient water capacity, and the reduction in the usage by half, leaves that even more ample supply.
Okay, well, Zach, do you suggest that we proceed with asking the applicant to agree to hire our independent reviewer?
Yeah, I think at this time I'd ask for a desk review of the materials previously submitted, and no new testing would be the scope initially, unless there was some sort of reasonable determination that that was necessary, some sort of additional testing. So I would suggest desk review for water supply. If that makes sense.
That's fine.
Okay,
So is that what you're asking for is a desk review of the water? Are you going to do the same thing with the traffic as well? A desk review
Yes.
of that?
traffic,
Okay.
yeah, traffic and
And water.
water treatment.
Okay. And with regard to the civil, well, sort of the architectural, there's a little bit of overlap between the design. And again, we've designed, less. We can certainly get you those site and the grading plans. So are you going to also do a desktop review of the civil and the septic?
Septic probably would be good to have. I don't know where we are on that particular issue, so I'll have to, I guess I'd seek feedback from Jonathan or Todd.
Well, there's
Mr.
not a lot,
Chairman.
there's nothing to review because it outside of we've shown you a location and given you some soils, but that's the one that's going to come under the jurisdiction
Right.
of the Board of Health.
I think that I would like the review to highlight any issues that could potentially be something we should consider
Okay.
in the absence of having the full amount of information. So, if he sees, like, for instance, if there was a lake within 20 feet of where your proposed septic system was, that might be something he would highlight. So I'm thinking of obvious
Okay.
issues we should focus on and be concerned with.
Okay. So it sounds like what I'm hearing is you want to do a desktop review of what's been provided in this new application. And obviously they'll look back and see whatever they want to review on the old. And the only additional information you're looking for is a grading plan and a site section plan.
I think so. And I think
and-
basically, do their conclusions change based on your reductions?
Okay. And do you want to try and tackle all of those at the next meeting? Or just sort of take them one at a time?
I think we should take them one at a time, but I defer to the rest of the board as to what you think is, I guess, most important, or I guess more feasible. I don't know at this point, we
Okay.
haven't hired a consultant, so I don't know. I think maybe we're gonna have to table that and maybe wait and see, but
Okay.
let's solicit
So-
feedback.
We'll try and get you what you've asked for in the next 2 weeks so that if you set a meeting up in a month, you've at least got that new information in front of you. And you can certainly let us know what topics you want to cover so that we can make sure we have our experts. We would want to try and at least get your reviews a week before the meeting if possible, just so that, again, our team can be prepared to respond to them, because I think we all want to try and be efficient through this process that we're all kind of finding our way. This is my first remand too. And so that's kind of what, what I'm thinking is that as long as, we can keep the information flow, just let us know what's on the table, and we'll try and react as quickly as we can.
I think on that point about it, sort of a compressed review timeline, I'm just going to throw it out there ahead of time that, we started this in September, November. Obviously, you lose some time for holidays. So I'm going to predict that we're going to request a little bit of an extension. I'm not thinking a large one, but I'm thinking end of the year is probably the goal to finalize this. Just given the depth that we need to have folks review materials. I just want to sort of, again, preface that in terms of my realistic expectations. I think that we should probably start with water and then move to traffic and then maybe septic last, unless anyone has any different perspectives.
So are you skipping the building review?
I'm not skipping it. Maybe we'll put that in with septic, since you're saying there's not going to be much to review on septic other than any high level issues that our experts see. So
Okay, so traffic, water, septic, and design.
yeah, I'd start with water because I think that's going to have the biggest community feedback.
Okay, and there's nothing for us to get you, so you can start that tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll start it and then we can table it if we have further questions.
Do you know who you're thinking of is using as a third-party consultant at this point?
I don't have anyone in mind. I know we've been using Tetra Tech frequently, but I don't know if there's any objections to that or anyone has a different suggestion.
I don't have a problem with Tetra Tech. Is it Sean Paul that who's been doing the reviews? Or
Oh.
Colin? Do you know who it is that you've been working with from Tetra Tech?
Steve Boulay.
Oh, Steve Boulay. Okay, I don't know Steve as well. I just don't know whether, and does Tetra Tech have sort of the water kind of background? I know that they can do septic. But that's, it's up to you.
It may make
they
sense
can
to go
bring
with
someone
the same peer reviewer from the earlier hearing process, since they will have a familiarity that will have already produced reports.
Is that Dr. Wang that you're referring to, Mr. Hagwell?
No, he was representing.
No, he was
Deshang
the
was representing the neighbors, wasn't he?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah, Deshang, I think, was representing the neighbors. The peer reviewer for the civil and the traffic, I think, retired.
Okay.
What the heck was their name? So they're not there, but Tetra Tech can 100% step into those shoes.
Tetra Tech's good.
And do you remember the name of the water person? Hang on, let me find
I don't.
I feel like it was just trying to see if I can
Was
wasn't
it
just
like PDS or P? I'll look and let me.
yeah,
give me
Jeannie,
some
you and
minutes.
I we'll pull out who it is, but I'm pretty sure that the engineer was PCI. Does that sound right? I'm looking at a bill. Professional Services Corporation.
No,
that was the civil engineer, and I believe they've retired.
Was that Tom Houston?
Yes. I have no problem with, I'm just looking to see who PCI is who did it, and they're no longer. So I have no problem with Tetra Tech, but I'll try and find out who the well company was. Because it wasn't that. Okay. So as far as, do you want to get a quote to, maybe potentially, I don't want to overstep my bounds, but potentially you could suggest that your ZBA secretary get those quotes for you. That once we know what they are, we can provide a check.
Yeah, I think that sounds reasonable. Quotes from whom exactly? So Tetra Tech and who else?
I am trying to find who did, and I don't know if Gary's on the line and he has a better idea of who did.
I think maybe we can take it as a takeaway. We can look back to the record to see who the other third party was engaged originally on this case. And it sounds like, Lynn, we have agreement from you speaking for the applicant. I realize the applicant's on the line as well, to pursue engagement with either Tetra Tech or the previous third party expert, right?
I'm fine with Tetra Tech, not fine with PCI, but we will definitely
that's no longer
we
a
will
viable
definitely
option.
find the name of whoever did the water, and whoever they were.
Okay.
We're fine with that, because it doesn't make any sense to try and reintroduce somebody you know, to this, that they've already, you know, they've already done the work before.
Was that Norbis Associates?
That's who it is.
Yeah.
Thank you. No, Norbus or Nobus.
Yeah.
That's who it was.
James Vernon of Novus Group.
Good memory. Okay, yeah, so Tetra Tech for everything other than the water is fine. And I'm happy, you know, Jeannie knows where to find me. She just shoot me off an email. So with that being said, what are you thinking for another meeting?
Why don't we schedule a meeting in 30 days,
1, 2.
which would get us to around October 7th.
Okay. Okay, and is your normal starting time 6:30 or was that just for tonight?
It is not. Our normal starting time is 7 o'clock.
Okay.
Is the 7th Columbus Day Monday?
I cannot do the 7th.
Now, is it? I
Okay.
don't have that written.
How about
Is
the
it-
8th or the 9th? Todd?
I could potentially do the 9th. I cannot do the 8th.
Well,
I'm available.
I have. I'm trying to think of, oh, East Bridgewater. I actually have a hearing in person in East Bridgewater that night.
Okay. How about the 10th?
Going once, 10th. I'm okay on the 10th.
Also,
You're okay on the 10th, Mr. Haverty?
I am.
Okay.
Okay.
And Mr. Chairman, are you still on? Does Thursday the 10th work for you?
Pending another dumpster fire? Yes, the 10th works fine.
Okay, so the next meeting on this matter will be on October 10th, beginning at 7 p.m.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your time.
Well, you're very welcome. Are there any other questions from members of the public?
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to point out the board should formally vote to continue it to that date.
Yes. Okay, we're going to take a roll call vote to continue the hearing to the 10th of October. Zach.
Motion. So did you make the motion, Johnson, or would you like me to?
Make
I'll
the-
second it. I make a motion to continue this hearing until the 10th of October at 7 p.m.
Second that. Okay, let's vote on it. Todd,
Labby, aye.
Zach,
Aye.
okay, Fitch, aye. So we are continued.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank
that
you so
time.
much.
And I will also entertain a motion to close this hearing.
No,
I so
not
move.
close.
No.
Adjourn.
Not adjourn the hearing, I'm sorry.
I so move.
Okay,
Seconded.
okay. Take a voice vote, Zach, on adjourning.
Seconded. Yeah. Aye. Adjourn. Yes.
Labby, aye.
Okay. Fitch, aye. Okay, so we are adjourned. Thank you, Jeannie.
Thank you.
Okay.